Let's be honest, the idea of Tony Blair returning to lead Labour sounds insane, absurd, even embarrassing. But in British politics, the insane has a nasty habit of becoming reality. And if Labour starts wobbling, if it starts coalition fractures, if the public mood turns sour, do not rule Blair out, not for 1 second. Because Tony Blair never really left. He left office, sure. He left Downing Street. He left the front bench. But he never left the machine. He never left the networks, the donors, the think tanks, the global conferences, the media class, the consultants, the bureaucrats, the lobbyists, the endless army of managerial political nobodies who still worship the ground he walks on. Blair isn't just a former Labour leader, he's the template. He's the model. He's the fantasy Labour elite still dream about when they look in the mirror. Slick, polished, empty enough for the establishment to love him, ruthless enough to cross his own side when needed, and shameless enough to call it modernisation. And that is exactly why he could return. Because Labour has always had two faces. One face is the activist-based, angry, ideological, loud, obsessed with causes, forever demanding purity, forever marching, forever complaining. The other face is the machine, careerists, technocrats, media operators. People's only real belief is power. Blair belongs in the second camp, and when Labour panics, it always listens to the second camp. Now, that's the key here. Tony Blair doesn't need the grassroots to adore him. He never really did. He needs Labour's rulers to fear losing power more than they fear the backlash of bringing him back. The second Labour looks weak, divided or unelectable, the calls for a serious figure begin. The second the party starts bleeding support, some ex-minister, some grey-haired relic from the new Labour years will appear on television and say the country needs experience, competence and a reconnect with the centre ground. That's code, it always is. And who owns that language? Tony Blair. Blair still haunts Labour because he represents the one thing that party worships above all else, winning. Not principle, not loyalty, not truth, winning. He won 3 general elections, and in a party addicted to power, that gives him near mythical status. It doesn't matter how much baggage he carries. It doesn't matter how divisive he is. It doesn't matter how many people despise him. To the Labour establishment, he is the last man who made them look unstoppable. That kind of nostalgia is politically dangerous, especially because modern politics is so weak. Look around. Politics is now dominated by managers, not leaders, by scripted operators, not conviction figures, by people trained to avoid mistakes rather than take risks. In that environment, someone like Blair can suddenly look statesmanlike, simply because he speaks in full sentences and sounds like he believes what he is saying. That's all it takes now. And let's not ignore Blair himself. This is not a man built for retirement. He has spent years hovering over politics like a ghost at a family funeral. Never fully present, but never gone. Every crisis, every election, every leadership wobble, there he is, giving interviews, writing essays, issuing warnings, offering advice nobody asked for, but everyone in Westminster still listens to. He behaves like a man who believes history has unfinished business with him. Men like that do not fade away quietly. They wait. They wait for collapse. They wait for confusion. They wait for mediocrity to clear a path for their comeback. And Blair, above all people, understands timing. He knows you do not march through the front door announcing your return. You let others beg for it. You let the party convince itself that only you can save it. You make your comeback look like a national duty instead of a naked ambition. And that's classic Blair. Now, would a return be easy? No, of course not. The man is toxic to millions. To the left, he is a traitor who sold Labour's soul. To many on the right, he is the smug globalist architect of the modern managerial blob. To ordinary voters, he is a reminder of a political class that lied, postured, enriched itself, and never paid the price. He would bring fury, division, headlines and rebellion. But here's the brutal truth. None of that automatically stops a comeback in modern Britain. Because politics is no longer about trust. It's about narrative, about media management, about stitching together just enough elite support, just enough institutional backing, just enough manufactured momentum to make the impossible feel inevitable. And Blair is one of the best narrative politicians this country has ever produced. He knows how to sell, how to pivot, how to relabel old poison as fresh medicine. If Labour enters a serious crisis, he could absolutely become the breaking glass emergency option. And that should terrify people. Not because Blair is some unstoppable genius, he isn't, but because his return would expose everything rotten about the Labour Party in one glorious ugly moment. It would prove the party has learned nothing. That beneath all the slogans, all the rebrands, all the fake moralising, it is still a vessel for the same elite project, managerial control, technocratic arrogance, contempt for ordinary people, and endless rule by the same interchangeable Westminster caste. A Blair comeback would not be a revival, it would be a confession. A confession that Labour has no future, only recycled ghosts. And in a political system this broken, never underestimate the power of a ghost in a good suit. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want more honest political commentary and don't want to miss what's really happening behind the headlines, hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments below.